Curio friends, today we are working on our Minecraft kit. Once you open up your kit, make sure you save the gray paper so it can be your messy map. Inside, you'll find all the supplies you'll need for your project today. You're going to be working on this foam core. You'll have glue, all the pieces of construction paper that you need, and a Q-tip to help you apply the glue to your project. The one thing that we don't have included in the kit that you'll need to provide is a pair of scissors. Smaller ones, larger ones, depending on how old you are and how large your hand is for your project. So let's get started. You're gonna take apart your pieces of construction paper so that you can have them laying out to be able to use. And you're going to be using your glue, but maybe not quite yet, so we can put that aside. When we are working on our project, you want to be using these strips to create squares. Minecraft is a really cool game that's pixelated, meaning that there's many squares that are making up the image. So what we're gonna do first is we're going to cut our pixels for our Minecraft creeper. That's why we have all of the green, black, and even a little bit of gray to be able to use. So as we're cutting, we wanna cut a square. So you wanna cut, this ends up being about 1 inch by 1 inch. Not that you need to know that, but if it looks like a square, then you're doing it right. If you're cutting it like this, and it looks a little bit more like a rectangle, or you cut too wide and it looks like a rectangle, we need to make it a little bit more like a square. So maybe if it's too big, you could cut that piece in half so it's a little bit more of a square shape. These are a little too small and more of a rectangle, so we're going for a square. A really neat shape that we don't want to use today is a shape called a parallelogram. So as you're cutting, if your scissors start to tilt like this, then you are going to be kind of creating this parallelogram or almost like a diamond shape, which is a sweet shape, but it definitely doesn't give us the feeling of Minecraft. It kind of looks more like a fancy pair of socks. So make sure that you are doing squares. You can do a few pieces of paper at a time, or you could do all of them. It's totally up to you. Once you have your paper cut, you're going to be lining them up in a straight line across your foam core so that it appears to have that pixelated look. So this is when you want to start to get out your Q-tips and your glue. And if at any point I'm going too fast for you, please make sure that you either pause the video or make sure if I'm going too slow for you that you rewind it or fast forward it. Whatever you need to do, make sure you pause, fast forward, rewind to make sure that it fits your needs. We're not going to be able to make art at the exact same speed, and that's okay. So do what you need. So I'm going to be using my little cut up pieces. You can see that I already have a lot of different pieces cut up over here on the side, and I can always cut more if I need it. So I am going to continue with my different pieces of my pixels or my squares to create my creeper project. So I'm going to put my Q-tip into the glue. You don't want too much. This is Elmer's glue, and Elmer's glue is very strong, even though sometimes people don't think that. There's even a little rhyme, Elmer's glue, just a little dab will do. So we're going to start putting these colors down however you want to. You might decide to do a pattern. You might decide to do a lot of different colors like I am, but we want them to be right next to each other, and we want to try to keep them in a straight line. You don't want them to kind of droop or kind of sag over this way, or else it doesn't give that really kind of perfect pixelated look. I want to use mostly green, but every so often I do want to toss in a gray one just to add a little bit of dimension, a little bit of depth to it. What you probably don't want to do is put a lot of the same colors right next to each other. Like I have a dark green up here and a dark green down there. So for me, because I don't want them exactly the same, I'm gonna make sure that I kind of switch up my green colors so that I have them a little bit different each time I put them on. And if you are a younger artist and you have somebody in your family that would like to help you with putting on the glue or with cutting, they can absolutely do that. This can even be a whole family project because it takes a little time. It might even be something that you want to work on and then come back to it a little bit later and let it dry, and maybe not do the whole entire thing all at once. A lot of artists do that. And you can see that we're just going to keep doing the same thing. You might even be able to start to do some things like this, where you can see how far away your pieces are going to be from each other, so you can put some little glue dots on there ahead of time, and you can line those up. Sometimes that lets it go a little faster. Not that art is supposed to go as fast as you possibly can, but sometimes our patience are a little limited. I'm going to turn this guy so he's a little wider. And because your paper isn't cut by a paper cutter, it's okay to have some pieces that are a little shorter and some pieces that are a little bit longer. That might happen to you. It's not perfect. If we wanted it perfect, we could have just printed a picture off of the computer. So since it's handmade, it might have a little bit of an imperfection to it, or a little bit of a wobbliness or a wonkiness, and that's okay. Across. Just to be silly, maybe I'll see how fast I can put all these pieces on. Big handful. And I still want to try to make sure that I'm not putting the same colors underneath each other. Oh my gosh, this is not going very well. I was trying to go really fast and now I'm stuck on some glue. See, that's why you shouldn't go super fast. I'm breaking my own rules. Each time you put those pieces on, try to make sure that you're trying to stay as straight as possible. It's not so important for it to be perfect that you have to have like a ruler line to help you out. If that's something that you want to do for your artist that's making the project, you can do that, but you don't have to. Sometimes it looks fun when it's not quite perfect, especially children's artwork can look really great with some of those little imperfections. And I am personally choosing to use all of the colors that I supplied for you in the kit. You don't have to. If you want to just use the light green and the darker green, and you don't want to use any gray, or you just want to use just the greens and no gray, that's fine. It's your piece of art and you could do it however you want to. Everybody has different things that they like and don't like for different reasons, and you're allowed to have that opinion, so feel free to use the colors the way you want to. You want to try not to have big oozing amounts of glue, because like I said, just a little dab will do. I'm going to make these just a little bigger, like some of my edges are sticking up just a little bit, so I'm going to make this glue just a tiny bit wider to help that seal down to the bottom just a little bit. I don't think it'll be something that we'll notice at the end that would make it not look as nice. Oh look, I made like a little pattern right there. That looks neat. Now it's kind of becoming a little bit of a game almost, because I don't want to have the same color right underneath each other. My lack of fingernails is making it hard to pick up these little pieces. That's a little tricky. Oh, I think I have two pieces there. Yep. Sometimes paper likes to stick together. Don't use your black yet. I already have mine cut, but we're going to save our black for our creeper's face. That'll be important. Because without it, it'll just be some green squares. If you can tell, we're down to our last 2 rows. Oh, that was a little too much glue. I'll kind of spread that out a little bit. If you get too much glue, you can always dip back into the glue that's on your board instead of the glue that's in your cup. And when you're done with your project, if you have extra glue in here, it'll stay really good for a long time, so you don't have to throw it away. You could maybe use a Q-tip, or even, you'd have to wash your brush really well, but you could even use a paintbrush to glue different things on later. Some friends even use their fingers. I know that's what I do sometimes with my preschool friends, is just have them use their finger to finish it up with gluing so that it's nice and easy for them to apply the glue. A little messier though, you have to make sure that you wash their hands afterwards. And like I said when we first started, it's totally up to you on if you want to cut them all first, or if you want to kind of cut them as you go, or you might need to do a little bit of both. Like I cut a lot before I started, but I'm actually all out of this bright green, which I still like to use. If I don't use my bright green down here on the last spot, I feel like you'll notice, and I want it to match the rest of it. So I'm gonna cut just a few more of these so that I can use them to kind of finish up my last piece. Okay, one more. And it is okay if it sticks off the edge, because when it's totally dry, we can actually trim the extra that sticks off. We can trim that off with some scissors. Or you can leave it, because nothing will happen to it. It won't fall off, it won't look weird. It'll just extend past your board just a little bit, and that's okay. Let's see, use my light green. And your board is black, so if you do have some spaces in between, that's okay, because it's just black. Push those down just a little bit, they're curling up. And you could really do this kind of image with a lot of different things. It wouldn't have to be just a creeper from Minecraft. It could be different things from different places. You could even create your own just with the different colors that you use. You can create different art projects with it. It doesn't even have to be something from a video game. It could just be some kind of cool character that you want to make. Awesome. Now that this part's done, we're going to go into using our black to create our face. And it's a little tricky because for it to look like a creeper, we need to make sure that it looks a certain way. I'm trying to get my black pieces over here, and they want to stick to the table and not get picked up by my fingers. That's a little tricky. I'm actually, if you're pretty good with scissors, you might be able to even hold two papers together and kind of cut both of them at the same time. So the creeper's face is in black, and you actually might want to lay this out first just to see how you like it. You might even want to pull a picture up to kind of reference what it looks like, because you want to make sure that you put it in the right spot. You don't want it too high, and then you don't want it too low that you miss part of his mouth. So I would say if you even take a little count, like if you go 1, 2, 3, 4 rows in, and I'm gonna lay it out first to see that it makes sense. If you go about 4 rows in, you could start to kind of see what it would look like. We have a square up here. And then instead of going straight across, we're gonna drop down just a little bit. Put these two here. And then we're gonna bounce back up and make another set of eyes right here. And I'm gonna get a few more of these black pieces. Okay, now we're gonna continue kind of making the rest of the face. This mouth that kind of continues down a little further. So let's see, our eyes are made up of 4 pieces, and that also makes a larger square. So we have 4 here, 4 here, and we're going to start to build. So far I have 6. I have 2, 4, 6, And I think I'm gonna wait to add more because then his mouth kind of comes out like this and it comes down. And if you didn't really know what you were looking at, it might almost look like a mustache, but it's not. Oh look, it got stuck. And of course, oh my goodness, of course when we're done, we'll glue it. And then this is gonna continue. Our actual creeper's mouth comes off of the very end of the creeper's face. So that's up to you. You could stop here and have it be a little bit more centered. You could continue it if you're very much somebody that wants it to look exactly like it. You could continue this off, and you could even put like 2 more right here. And you can kind of see what you think works best. You could also make it a tiny bit bigger if you wanted to, and you wanted the eye to be a little bigger, you could do that. And now you could even do something where you take your square and you cut it in half. And you could make this a little larger by kind of adding this to your eye and making it a little bit wider so that it's not quite a whole extra square, but it's just a little bit extra. And that's up to you. That really starts to make it be pretty creative and kind of go into a little bit more problem solving. Like this, what kind of shape would I have to cut for that to make sense and that to be closed off right there? Well, I'd have to cut a little square. I'd have to cut my rectangle shape, and then I'd have to cut that again so that it makes a little bit more of a square like that. So you can even play around with making your eyes a little bit bigger so that you feel like it looks exactly the way you want it to, whether you want the face to be a little smaller and you want more of these green pieces showing, or you want the face to be bigger. That's up to you. Once you have your creeper the way that you want it, you can glue it the same way we've been gluing with putting the glue down here, or you can always put your glue on the back of your square too. If this starts to get really floppy, like my Q-tip starts to get really soft, you can always flip it over and use the other side too. That's pretty helpful also. So of course you have to glue your creeper's eyes on. Nobody wants their creeper's eyes falling off. And I do like how I made this a little bit bigger. I'm gonna stick with that one. That problem solving is great for art. It's great for all kinds of things, but sometimes people don't think about it with art. Art's that A in STEAM. So if you're doing something with STEM, anytime you can try and draw a diagram of it or problem solve with it through art and different drawings, that's making it STEAM. If you're a little crazy with the glue and you get a little too much, your project is not ruined. Everything's fine. The glue will dry clear, so I won't even notice that's there by the time this is totally dry. All right, I'm going to continue gluing this. You can see what it looks like for sure. And you can continue working and kind of finalizing your creeper. On the back of your foam core, there's actually a little hanger for you to hang it up too. So make sure that when you're done, you take a picture of it, tag us at CURIO Cool in social media so we can see how cool your Minecraft creeper turned out.